Hey, You-est You listeners. It is Julie. I'm so honored you're here with me today. I love having you part of this community. I hope you're getting so much from the podcast. And you are in for such a treat today. We have an amazing guest. So excited for you to get to know Donny Raus. Let me tell you about him before we get into our conversation. Donny is the founder of Raus Coffee Company, and he has been active in the coffee community for 17 plus years. Having worked in various capacities from barista to an educator and roaster, one thing has always rang true. Coffee, people, and travel have always been his passions. In college, he worked for Starbucks and was one of the first in the company to earn the Coffee Master title. While there, he started the free pour mailing list. Ooh, I love that. The company's first comprehensive mailing list to include new product highlights, coffee tastings, and pairing notes, equipment reviews, and subscriber Q&A. He also traveled the region presenting Coffee Talk, an educational series on coffee. In 2005, Donny left Starbucks and corporate and formed the Connecticut Coffee Society in 2007, educating all who wanted to learn about the magic beverage through cupping. That same year, he was elected president of the Northeast Regional Roasters Group, in charge of organizing annual retreats for coffee professionals, where he served a term of 3 years. Deciding there wasn't anything he'd rather do, in October 2007, Donny took the leap of faith and started, as I told you earlier, Raus Coffee Company. Donny currently resides in Fairfield County, Connecticut, where he roasts and bottles his award-winning cold Roman espresso. He is also one of 400 certified espresso sommeliers in the world and one of 6,500 certified international Q graders. We're going to talk about all this. All right. I don't know about you and all those listening. This makes me really want some coffee. Donny, I'm so psyched to have you. Thank you for
Thank you
being
for
on the
having
show.
me.
Yay. All right. So first of all, everyone listening, I know I always say if you're driving, don't take notes, but if you have coffee next to you, I think we should all like raise up our cup and just take a sip. All right. So I don't have my cup in front of me. I should have, but I'm pretending. Take a sip of your coffee. Donny has his. So we're going to do some coffee talk. Let's like talk all things coffee. You like starting a business like this. Where did you begin? Let's just get into it.
So from the time I was very young, my earliest memory of coffee was sitting at my grandmother's table. So I have an Italian grandmother who couldn't speak that well of English, but the one thing that she did speak was food and coffee. So every day, my father and his siblings would gather at the house especially after my grandfather passed away. They would gather at the house and they would all meet there for coffee. And being a young kid, I would always peer over the stove and watch her make espresso using this thing called You-est You, which is like a mocha pot or a stovetop espresso maker. And there was something about that memory that was so vivid for me. It was very magical. Like I remember the aroma and just kind of leaning over and watching the espresso slowly pour out through the spouts. And it was just, for me, it was like a moment that time stopped.
Mm.
And I kind of equated coffee with that taking time to just kind of stop everything, be and enjoy the company of those around you.
Mm.
After that, there was always this affinity that I had. So every time my family, when we got our first cappuccino machine, every time it came out, I was always there making coffee for anyone who wanted one. And it kind of like continued throughout college, where to the point where nobody could have a family party and have dessert until I was there to make the coffee. In college, my brother, his friend, and I, we were all going to open up a cafe. We were going to kind of do the Starbucks thing. So they sent me in as the informant. Thankfully, we didn't get the space that we were looking to lease. So while I was working Starbucks, it's kind of opened my world to just kind of like the different beverages, the different types of coffee. I think at that point, I wasn't aware of all the different origins that grew coffee. And so I really started to blossom while I was at Starbucks. I became one of the first coffee masters, which was a certification used for someone who had a knowledge base and could talk and explain all the coffees, the coffee brewers, everything. And then I also would travel around the region doing coffee talk. So coffee talk was my way of kind of sharing my knowledge, sharing my passion with other people. So I was working corporate accounting at the time as well. So I just graduated. I was doing corporate accounting, and then I was holding this job at Starbucks. doing this out of pure passion.
Mm.
So it's funny how, I found that it's a common theme in my life in terms of how change happens.
Mm.
Because change, it never really happened where I was like, oh, all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I do. Let me take those steps. It was always the result of some kind of turmoil, some kind of conflict in a way. So when I was at Starbucks, I wanted to move up into marketing. And at that time, they preached the idea that you can move up, you can do anything within the company, starting from that barista position. And I did more than anyone did. I went well above and beyond my job responsibilities. And when I applied, I got overlooked for marketing. And then it was at that point I said, you know what? Well, screw this. I'll figure out my own path. And so I went to work at a cafe in the town over from me. And it was a local roastery. I was a college graduate making less than like high school students were making. I was like, okay, this is great. My father was barking at me. What are you doing with your life? You're working at the coffee shop now. And I started roast. That's when I kind of first started roasting, and I kind of revamped his entire espresso program. And then there was a manager position that opened up. So wanting that manager position, I asked him, says, you know what, if I'll take the position, could I have a chance? And he just said, no. And from that point, the same thing happened. I just kind of got angered. I was like, okay. I started the Connecticut Coffee Society, which I aim to educate people all around the tri-state area about especially coffee. So I ended up becoming one of the largest coffee meetups, I believe, in the United States, the most active. They did a coffee cupping, which is a way of tasting and quantifying a coffee. So they aired a cupping that I did on both coasts, East and West Coast. So I left the company. I went to Italy for 3 months, which is not a bad thing.
That's never a bad thing.
In Rome, and kind of like drank my way around Rome at that time. And when I came back, I started a coffee company with my brother called Flavor Phil, with his name being Phil. And then when things kind of were a little bit shaken there, I said, you know what, I'm going to step out with my own company. And that's when I stepped out with Raus.
Wow. All right. I've got a lot of questions for you. So if
Fire
you're
away.
listening, so Donny's taking a sip of his amazing coffee. We're all a little envious because I know your coffee is incredible. We were just talking pre-show about, like, at this point, I really only want to drink excellent coffee. It's just, once you've had excellent coffee, nothing compares is the problem.
Confession number one. See, I believe in integrity. So
yeah.
This is actually tea.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Confession.
I love the integrity. Nope. No, I'm with you. I had tea before. It's all good. Tea, coffee, mainly coffee. It's all good. First of all, I just acknowledge you for the courage it took to start your own business. And I've got a bunch of questions for you. I want to, before I get into the questions, one thing I want to point out that you said that I think is often what many of us are looking for. You said this whole idea of coffee is really about taking time to be and enjoy. And, the light bulb went up for me is, I think that's something that we in this country and society, fast-paced, moving from one to the next thing, we often miss, is taking time to enjoy, not taking it on the go and missing the flavor, but like sitting down, savoring, which sounds like, I know traveling in Europe, France, Italy, that's what they do. You probably did that for your 3 months. So I love that your focus and part of your intention, I just heard under what you were talking about, is helping people to really do that more. It's really wonderful. Yeah. I'm curious. So, it sounds like you got a bunch of no's and it not working as well with your brother. How did you get the courage to start your own business? And then we'll talk about like what actually it entails to start up a coffee roasting business. But how did you get the courage? A lot of people listening have an idea, have a side hustle, maybe a business they're starting, know someone with a business. Like, it takes something to do that.
So for me, it was when I first started my business, it was pure passion. I mean, I literally like just drank. I mean, I don't know what the term is, like, but all I thought was coffee.
Yeah.
The only thing that was ever on my mind was coffee. So when I started the business, so I was really hesitant to step out. I wasn't confident yet in my abilities to do so. When I became president of the roasters, so the roasters retreat that you mentioned there, it was funny. There was all these roasters that were present at this event. at the end of the whatever it was, I think it was like a 3-day event. They said, okay, well, it's time for us to choose a new president of the retreat. Do I have anyone want to nominate anybody or any volunteers? So I shot my hand up and I'm looking around and there was no one there. And so I'm like, really, this is me. All right. And I thought for me, I found as a way to kind of curate an event to pull in. So the years following, I pulled in the biggest names in coffee, the people who were like, you ask anyone, like they're big names because of what they've done in the industry, as well as how they've evolved the processing methods of these different coffees. So I pulled in the retreats this way I could learn from the best of the best. But in 2007, when I took over this event, what I saw was I had all this knowledge, more so than these people who already had established businesses. So what was I afraid of? So a couple days after I got back from the event, that's when I registered my business.
Wow.
So that was the push. It was just kind of like this little nudge of knowing that, you know what, I have what it takes because all these people are doing it, and and this is the knowledge base that I'm bringing to the table.
No, I love it. I love it. And I love what you said about what I really got is that fueled by passion. Like
Yeah.
your passion for it really fueled you. And thinking for people listening, I always like to think like, how is this relatable? So someone who's listening, if you have that passion, if you don't have that passion, don't go forward. But if you do have that, like, it's so clear listening to you, it's what you thought about at all times. It's what,
Yeah,
morning, noon,
very much so.
and night. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I used to drink so I used to drink, no BS. I used to drink pots of coffee before I went to sleep.
Oh my
Like
God.
I'd brew full pat and I would sit there studying, sipping the coffee, admiring all the nuances, and then I'd pass out. No, it didn't bother me.
You're like, no problem with the caffeine. Your body's like, listen, we're going to be a high-end roaster, so we're going to have to deal. We're just going to have to learn.
I'm so caffeinated. I think having that much caffeine was actually like a downer for me.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so great. I know I was going to say, how's your body handling the caffeine? But you seem to be fine.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, you seem to be great. Tell us a little bit about, so now you're starting your business. Like, then what? Like, what does it entail to start a coffee roasting company? Maybe get even into the day to day? Just curious for those who have no idea. What does that look like?
So I have, and this is a good topic because I have people who have contacted me because they have a business idea and they want to get involved in coffee. And the first thing I would say, and well, first, if I were to go back in time, so if I were to go back to 2007, and if you were to say, all right, you're starting business now, this is what lays ahead of you. This is what you're gonna be doing 10 years out. I would be like, what the heck? And maybe I wouldn't have. I'm not really sure. It's kind of like when you have your goal or your eyes set on the outcome, that you're not really looking at everything in between. But if I were, so knowing what I know now and how I would have, if I would have done things differently, I would have gotten experience on someone else's dime, like learn the art of roasting, if that's what you want to get into, and just learn first, because sometimes you get into something and it's not all you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So for me, I really like the people aspect, and I'm really good at roasting coffee and really good at making my bottled cold brew and espresso. But it's not, it's an aspect of the business where I feel like, it's almost in a drain in a way.
Yeah.
And I say that not because like my juice or the energy I get is from dealing with people, from being out engaging, to be out in the world.
Yeah.
And that is what I really feel like I bring. So know where the time is going to be spent. With that said, with the cold room, and we were talking earlier, I always do an intention. Whenever I brew the coffee, you say brewing it with love. There's always an intention that goes with every time I'm brewing it. There's this ritual that I have around that, where you could think of it as like a blessing in a way, that I really think adds something to it. And when people try it, they say they feel it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love that you do that. I'm actually thinking about, there's an accessory it's Alex and Ani. I don't know if you've heard of it. They have a lot of women's like bracelets, beautiful, different jewelry, and they actually bless every single item that they make. And I mean, they're huge now. And I really believe in that. I love that you do that.
Yeah.
We could go on a whole tangent about that. Like, if you know about the Dr. Emoto's study on water, I don't know if you know that
Yeah,
study,
for sure.
where how you speak to a plant or to water or to anything really has a vibration. So I love that you're bringing in that real intention. I'm like so excited to try your coffee. It's going to be
Oh
awesome.
wait, you're gonna be hooked. So that's your warning.
Oh God. Oh no. It's all right. That's not a bad one. I'm just, as long as we're not talking tequila here, I'm good. Yeah.
You could mix it with tequila.
Yeah, you could mix it with tequila. Tequila doesn't like me, but coffee's good. I could do a little coffee. It's good. So you have an intention. So take us through. I love what you said too, and I'm thinking for those that are like, yeah, I think I want to start like a juice bar or whatever it is. Like, go first, get experience with someone who's already created it. That's kind of a
Yeah.
takeaway I heard. Do that so you can know, like, is this really what I want
Mhm.
to do? So okay, so now you have this roasting company. How did you get up and did you find a place first? Like, maybe tell us a bit about the story and then what happened from there.
So when I first started, I purchased in 2007, I purchased my first roaster. It was a 2 kilo roaster, and I was going, this is going to be easy to make coffee. And I actually literally set it up in my garage, and I put coffee in, and I'm tasting. I'm like, this is not. I wouldn't feel comfortable selling this. So for 3 years, I roasted the coffee, and I would literally dumped everything. So I bought probably like 500 pounds of coffee or something like that around there, and I literally dumped everything. But let me tell you what I did do. So, and it's kind of a catch-22. You have to know what kind of intrigues you. So the whole, like, the production part, being there for that day-to-day production, like in the beginning, it was exciting. But
Right.
one of the things that I do like, and that still holds my interest now, is the whole sensory process of coffee. It's like that sensing and say, okay, well, what's going on here?
Right.
And then knowing, so when I was roasting in those 3 years where I was literally dumping everything, I would roast something. And when you follow, so let me backtrack real quick. So when you roast coffee, there's something called like your profile. A profile is essentially your recipe on
Okay.
how to roast a coffee. It's a plot of the time versus temperature. So with my machine, when I purchased my machine, I kind of tricked it out. This is where my father did HVAC, like air conditioning. So
Okay.
I'm very good with using my hands, and I have this mechanical mindset.
Wow. It's
So
great.
I swapped out a motor. I put a frequency drive, which adjusts the speed of the motor. So this way I had control over fan speed, airflow, and everything. And then I could literally take I would roast for the 3 years. I would roast, like, I'd plot out this curve on a computer, and then I'd say, okay, I taste it and say, okay, I'm getting these notes. What would happen now if I change this aspect of it? I'd roast it, cup it again, and say, okay, well, all right, this happened. This was a result of this change. Okay, let me do the opposite now. Okay, all right, well, now I'm getting this. And I literally would had to teach myself how to do it, like plotting out all these things and understanding what were the contributors to taste,
Wow.
and what developed the coffee to a flavor profile that was someone would find, that someone would enjoy. So it was tough going through it, but looking back in hindsight now, I mean, it pretty much taught me everything I know now
Yeah.
about the roasting side.
Well, I love this, Donnie. It just reminds me of the Thomas Edison, where he talks about like, oh yeah, no, I didn't fail. Those were however many thousand times that I tried. And it sounds like I mean, my gosh, to try for 3 years. That's like what I'm hearing is just this incredible determination and desire to to get it, to figure it
Figure it
out.
out.
Yeah, to figure
Very
it
much so.
yeah, like that. I'm just thinking again, those tuning in, like it doesn't happen overnight. Cause see, we can see, we could taste your coffee and see you have this company and you're expanding and it's like, oh, that just happened. And I think it's important to be reminded for anyone, whether you're an entrepreneur or there's a goal that you're setting, it's like, no, it takes time. It takes grit, determination. It takes this passion, like you said.
And if there's one thing that I've learned, so I just completed my espresso sommelier. I'm one of 400 espresso sommeliers in the world. And
Wow. Wow.
so I went to Italy, and it's so fun. And this is kind of a lesson on life as well. So first of all, you think you know it. You think you're at a point when you know everything, and then you realize you know nothing, or not that you know nothing, but that there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
And then also, so I've always revered Italian espresso as like Italians as like the authority on espresso.
Yeah.
But having learned so much over the years, I would say even just prior to taking the sommelier course, there's an etiquette that we have in the United States, for example, in terms of like all these there's all these variables at play when you're talking espresso. And every little thing, I mean, if you're trying to pull a consistent shot, there's so many factors that it'll make your head. If you knew what those variables were, you'd like, oh my God, how does someone pull like a consistent shot?
Right.
And there's so many variables at play. It's part of the thing that keeps it interesting, but you also see that, like, at least for me, was that it doesn't always have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like I was in Napoli, for example, and in Naples, they have a lever machine. So in the United States and most of Europe, they have like you press the button,
right?
It doses the amount of espresso. In Napoli, they have like lever machines, and which there's when you pull the lever down, water comes out through the piston, and a lot of the time the water is literally at a boiling point because you can see it billowing out of the bottom of the portafilter.
Wow.
I mean, and yet somehow the coffee tastes amazing. It defies all logic. But and I figured that out now after playing around back home here. I'm like, all right, how does this work? And now I know. But
so cool. That's so cool. I love the artistry and the attention to detail, and the fine tuning. Like some of these traits and skills, like the way that you really poured yourself, that is actually pun intended, poured yourself into this is really, really inspiring. And I love showing the underbelly of what it takes to create a business that's successful, that's thriving, because I think it's easy to be like, oh yeah, he just has this product. No, you've put so much heart and soul. I can hear it. Passion, fuel, time, attention, travel. Although that would not be a bad travel to keep going back to Italy. I would totally be on that boat.
If you ever want an espresso tour, I'll be more than happy to give you one.
Yeah, I think anyone listening, we're going to do a little, email me if you want to be part of an espresso tour. Maybe we'll create some sort of really cool You-est You espresso tour. I don't know. Just making it up.
I would do it.
All right. Write in if you guys are listening and you want to be part of an espresso retreat. We'll do it. Who knows? If we get enough people, Donny, we might be hosting something.
Deal.
Lots of coffee. I love it. All right. Lots of coffee. One of my other, questions for you is, well, first of all, do you have a storefront in addition to the roasting? Like, where can people find your coffee? Because I know people are going to ask, where can I get it? Where can I try it?
Okay. So I on my website, Raus Coffee, RAUS coffee.com, I ship nationwide. So my signature espresso, ships cool. So there's like three bottle option. You get a 1, 2, or 3 bottle option, and then the shipping goes down with each additional bottle, because it kind of. And I want to say this because even one of the challenges in doing what I'm doing with the espresso. So I'm the only bottled hot brewed espresso that you're going to find in the market right now.
Wow.
So there's cold brews and all these other things, but the process is very different, and you could taste the difference in the coffee as well. And so as a result, so the bottles are online are $21 per bottle, but there's 16 shots in a bottle.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's
it's not like a cold brew or, so just to kind of put things in perspective, but but their shelf life of 4 months. So you can get everything online. Okay. And then I also do stores in Fairfield County. So you can buy both my roasted coffee and bottles of espresso, as well as I do locally, and I do a handful of farmers markets locally in Fairfield County.
Awesome.
I kind of stayed away from doing a retail just because, going back to I have a big passion for travel.
Yeah.
Love travel. And I didn't want to be tied down to one location. So this just worked for me.
Yes. So people can, and I'll have this in the show notes, rouscoffee.com, and they can also get your roasted coffee as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And talk a little bit about, I know one of the first things when we met, so Donny and I met at the Mindset Retreat with Bold Heart, with Fabian Fredrickson's awesome group. And we, right away, one of the first things you said is I love travel. I want to figure out how to do more of that. Love to hear more about your, the future vision you have, both for your coffee company, and what else? What for your You-est You? What's on the horizon for you?
So that is actually being developed. I mean, you're as you see me here, everything is kind of being formed, and I want to say it's not a very comfortable experience. It's not a comfortable experience because I have to shed older beliefs, old ways of doing things, and also kind of delegating some of that responsibility and the tasks to other people.
Yeah.
But I will say, with that said, there is some really exciting. So coffee for me, like I said, coffee is a moment.
Yeah.
So it's a moment of people that I have with you consuming my coffee, where you get to stop And for that
Mm,
moment, you actually are, in a way, you're communicating with me. So
mm,
I have different coffee blends that I'm doing, and all that stuff is kind of in the process of being done now,
love it.
where it's all about that moment. It's all about thinking what you want for your day, what you want for your life. So when we were at the retreat, one of the things I told you is that a friend of mine had asked me a question. I was going through like, I was in this kind of like this state where things are getting a little bit shook up. And she said, listen, we all end up at the same destination.
Yeah.
The only difference is the journey we take to get there. And when I was looking at the journey, the path that I was currently on, it wasn't the one that I wanted or the one that I envisioned for my life. And if I were to die tomorrow, I wouldn't have said, well, you know what? I am very happy doing this. I believe that the world is an amazing place. And it's more for me than just going out and wanting to see different sites. Although like I want to see all the beauty,
Yeah.
but it's interacting with different people. It's having these experiences and being stripped of everything. Because when I travel, it's like everything's stripped out. You have to overcome biases, prejudices that you don't even know you have.
Yeah.
So you're going through this life and you're just kind of like a zombie going through your day to day, not even sure of these recurring thoughts that are going on in your head. But then all of a sudden when you step out, you're like, oh my gosh, and now I'm alone in this new place. And then when you have to interact and meet some people, you realize that these belief systems that were embedded into you long ago actually start coming up. And then when you overcome them because you want to have a friend or something like that, it's very empowering. It's this I mean, it's like what I feed for and thrive.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I love travel.
That's so
But
powerful.
yeah,
Yeah, well, what I hear is part of for you and your own growth and development is being able to expand yourself, your
yeah,
sense of self, your sense of humanity, your sense of self in all kinds of humanity, and to be part of that experience and see who you become in that process. That's what I'm hearing, and it sounds like that's really important to you.
yeah. It's an internal and external. It's like internal and external exploration.
Yeah,
Um, and there's just so much in the world to see, like to just stay in Fairfield County where I am.
yeah,
A very small world because so many people are like, oh, you can't go over there. It's not safe. I mean, I've been to so many places,
mm,
and to see like the smiles of people who have nothing, and you realize, I
yeah,
think I made a comment in my first podcast, which is called One Life, that I encountered people who had nothing. And the
yeah.
happiest times I had in my life were where there was nothing. There was no, I didn't have any title. No one knew who I was.
Mm.
Just this very raw interaction, this very present interaction that you had with other people around you, or even the people who were in this origin country.
So that is such a great way of just really a reminder, I think a call to action for all of us to just tune in to what is like naturally what makes us joyful. You said, being in that moment and looking for that joy, that happiness that has nothing to do with materialism or material things. Even
Nothing.
coffee could just be smile, eye contact. And that's one of the things I noticed about you is you're very present. And I think very good at connecting and being present in the moment. And so just a reminder to all of us I love what you said. It's like that reminder, we're all going to be in the same destination. I think about this every day, actually. Like, what are we doing with our days? And really, really, really cool stuff, Donny. I think, just your idea of how you want to expand yourself and travel is fantastic. And I know for those listening, Donny has a podcast as well called One Life, which it's so great that you're going to be focusing right on the idea of we have one life to live.
Yeah. So it's called One Life with the One Life podcast with Donny Raus, and
Nice.
it's very much going back. It is that kind of like live your life. So I'm going to Singapore, Vietnam, Singapore, and Hong Kong in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I'm going to be doing some posts from there. But it really is. It's kind of like it's a telling of my personal journey internally as well,
Yeah.
because I know like everyone thinks that they're alone in the things that they're going through, and I know that in practicing vulnerability and sharing the like vulnerable points, people feel like they're a little bit more connected. They don't feel as alone.
Yeah. So,
So that's really the point, and as well as to inspire people to kind of step out and just see the world.
hmm, awesome. I love it. Well, I hope everyone listening, there's so many nuggets here and takeaways. And highly recommend that everyone gets thee to rouscoffee.com so you can try your coffee and to follow you and tune into your podcast, the One Life podcast with Donny Raus, and connect with where you're going to be and what you're noticing, what you're learning, what you're seeing. It sounds like you're going to be really sharing kind of wherever you are, which is so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. Really excited for it.
So cool. So my last question, is there anything that I didn't ask you or any wisdom that kind of drives you or that you want to share with our listeners that is that just might be helpful for people to think about before we wrap up?
Well, I mean, so I was talking with one of our fellow Bold Heart members, and at the end of our talk, she was kind of coaching me through some of the mindset stuff, like where I feel like I had to hit a snag. And at the very end, I played her. I had this vision reel that I made for myself. So when people ask me about, like, when you talk about the law of attraction, about picturing the thing that you want,
Yeah.
so travel is the one thing where I know without a doubt. So I want to hit 100 countries before 50. I have 12 years.
Woo.
And I know without a doubt that I'm going to hit that, because like I just know it's a certainty I have. But the vision I had, the reel that I played it for her. And it poses a question. It goes, if tomorrow it were all to end. No, oh gosh, how am I forgetting?
It's all good. You can paraphrase.
Well, yeah. So if tomorrow was the last day, how would you, if it were gonna end, how would you live tomorrow, or how would you live today?
Yeah.
And to start from there, and then at the very, very end, it says, take a moment, enjoy now.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. Awesome. For those that don't know what vision reel is, it's basically like a vision board that you can put like in a PowerPoint slide with pictures of what you want to manifest, what you want in your life, with music, right? Did I kind of sum
Correct.
that up? Yeah. I'm
Very
going to
much
work
so.
on mine soon for 2020. Awesome. Awesome. I love that, really taking that moment. You said it a few times, really coming back to now, coming back to this moment, honoring today. How do you want to honor today? How do you want tomorrow to look? Because we don't know. We don't
One
know.
of the closest friends I have, so I was actually looking over photos, and I was looking at the people that I connected with the most. And all those people that I connected with on the very deep level, there was all this aspect of that very being present, which is something that sometimes I find very difficult to do here, because the mind's always busy. But when I'm travel or with them around certain people,
Yeah.
regardless whether it's home or abroad,
Yeah.
it's really the people who are able to connect and be present in that moment that I connect best with. And
Beautiful. So powerful. You have a lot of depth, my friend. I am, and your coffee does. So I'm just saying, this was like coffee talk extraordinaire, and just really, really, again, acknowledge you for taking the leap. I know, as an entrepreneur myself, and for those listening who've ever know anyone that's done it, like, it takes something, and really excited to watch you continue to soar and expand all of that you want to do: podcast, your coffee company, your travel, marrying it all together. I could see, like, where in the world is Donny with like a cup of coffee, right? So we're gonna all keep up with you. Can people find you on social media? Is it just under your name? What's the best way to find you on social media?
yeah, so on social media, my handle is Donny, Donny, Raus, Raus. And that is my personal. My business one is Raus, Raus Coffee, Coffee. Typically, when I'll do live Instagram feeds, and I try to kind of balance posting between the both, but usually the travel usually kind of tends to go towards my towards the personal. And then
Awesome.
I have Facebook too. You can do Facebook Raus Coffee, or Facebook Donny Raus. Then I do the One Life podcast with Donny
Awesome.
Raus on Facebook group.
Awesome. My gosh, fantastic. Well, I just want to thank you so much. So fun to talk to you, and
Thank
you
you.
have a ton of wisdom, and just awesome to share you. Thank you for being with us today,
Thank you for
Donny.
having me. It was a pleasure. It was nice seeing you again, and I enjoyed it.